I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka.
I'm most thankful to you for arranging this meeting, which gives small states such as Sri Lanka an opportunity to place our difficulties before this august body and the G20 with regard to maintaining financial system stability in these difficult times. Mr. Chairman, it is common ground that the COVID situation made many countries vulnerable to debt. It has been observed by our Minister of State for Financing at a meeting to discuss the debt architecture and liquidity a few days ago, that multilateral institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank should come forward and provide a debt moratorium to emerging nations so that there is at least an interval of 1 year for them to structure their debt situations into a better model. We must appreciate that global crises need global responses, and that an across-the-board moratorium to the developing nations and the emerging nations would have been very helpful to ensure that all countries would stay healthy in the face of this global crisis. The second observation he made is about the rating agencies. It would appear that the rating agencies work on the hypothesis and under the pretense that there is no such crisis. They apply the same yardsticks that have been applied in normal times. In a crisis situation, when there is a new emerging set of rules, as well as a set of developments, they should have been conscious of these situations and then structured their ratings of countries using that background knowledge as well. And that was a big drawback and additional pressure that was put across emerging nations during that time. The final observation I would like to make, as he did, was one which was more universal. That is, when countries which are advanced and developed make investments in countries which are developing or less advanced, it is described as a loan. But when countries which are less advanced give loans to those countries which are more advanced, it is labeled an investment. It is rather difficult, really, to understand the underlying rationale for the differentia. There appears to be no intelligible rationale, other than to say that investments attract very low interest, whereas loans attract very high interest. Mr. Chairman, Sri Lanka is of the respectful view that this aspect must be addressed carefully as a matter of urgency. Why is it that countries have to pay 6 to 7% interest for the investments that are being made by more advanced countries, and when investments are made by the developing countries, they receive less than 1% as interest? So this dichotomy needs to be addressed carefully. In the context of global reserve management, global reserves are generally retained by countries to show themselves off as a credit-worthy country. And I think it is time that this is addressed in a universal manner in order to bring equity and clarity to the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka.